She was a political personality with great aspirations. I'm talking about Kristi Noem, and she included in those aspirations, and I think very much relevant in the conversation around vice president or vice presidential candidate for Donald Trump. So this is not someone who is just some obscure legislator. She was very much in the national conversation. Big Trumpy, sort of tough on everything. One of those, tough on crime, tough on the border, tough on this, tough on. And so she brought her toughness into this new book. And so she describes in the new book offing the pet, which I'll get to in a moment. But I thought the noteworthy thing was the good way in which Margaret Brennan at CBS handled her on Face the Nation about other allegations. Yeah, in the new Kristi Noem book. So let's roll this, Tony. This is Kristi Noem on Face the Nation yesterday, talking about having met and dealt with Kim Jong-un, which is, by the way, a completely invented story. She never did meet him, but nonetheless, it's in her book. Here we go.
Remember when I met with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un? I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. I've been a children's pastor after all. Did you meet Kim Jong-un?
Well, as soon as this was brought to my attention, I certainly made some changes and looked at this passage. And I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. As soon as it was brought to my attention, we went forward and have made some edits. So I'm glad that this book is being released in a couple of days and that those edits will be in place and that people will have the updated version.
So you did not meet with Kim Jong-un. That's what you're saying.
No, I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I think I've talked extensively in this book about my time serving in Congress, my time as governor, before governor, some of the travels that I've had.
I think I've talked about it in the book. I have no idea really what's in the book.
I'm not going to talk about my specific meetings with world leaders. I'm just not going to do that. This anecdote shouldn't have been in the book, and as soon as it was brought to my attention, I made sure that was adjusted. So
stop right there,
the book
Tony.
is not released until...
Stop. I would have loved to have heard this one. I thought, and Brennan did a really good job. What do you mean it shouldn't have been in the book? Did you write the book or not? I mean, that's the one question I would have liked to have seen. I mean, I'm sure you wrote it with a ghostwriter, but aren't you aware of what's in the book? I mean, this idea, she said it multiple times. The minute it was brought to my attention that this was in the book, I'm sorry. What do you mean?
Why can she not answer the question? So did you or did you not meet with them? No, I did not.
Yeah, I met with a lot of world leaders, who can keep them straight.
Right. It's ridiculous.
Go ahead, Tony, please.
Tuesday, and so we're doing all that we can to make sure that those changes are made, and I'm going to continue to focus on what this book is and the blueprint that it lays out for the American citizen, on all of the things in the background and stories of my life, but also what I think that needs to be identified in politics and what's broken today. I talk about how broken the money game is, how broken it is that we've got consultants that are getting rich off of elected officials, and then how fake some elected politicians are. Every single person in this country wants someone in elected office that's a human being, that doesn't say they're perfect. I take responsibility for that being in the book, and as soon as it was brought to my attention, I asked for it to be changed. So I'm glad that the release date is in a couple of days, and we're excited to talk to America about my new book, No Going Back.
So you talk about your time in the Armed Services Committee from 2013 to 2015. In that period of time, the leader of South Korea was a female president. I'm wondering, who is it that you confused Kim Jong-un with?
Well, I think you need to remember, Margaret, and everybody needs to remember that I've worked on ag policy and federal policy for over 30 years. My time in serving and making policies in this country has been extensive and covered decades.
Right, but you never went to North Korea.
I make no specifics in this book. I talk about the fact that, yes, I have. I've been there. So
you went to North Korea?
Yeah, I went to the DMZ, and there are details in this book that talk about going to the DMZ and specifics that I'm willing to share. There's some specifics I'm not willing to share with you. I've traveled the world and I visited with world leaders, and some of that is referenced in the book, and this anecdote is something that, when it was brought to my attention, we made some changes, and when the book's released, we'll do all that we can to see that is reflected.
Okay. Well, I'm asking about that specifically because you made the point to bring him up twice and that he was a little tyrant.
Do you have a question for me, Margaret?
Yes, I do. South Korea is a treaty ally. North Korea is a nuclear armed adversary. So that's a pretty big thing to confuse. I know you read this book before it was published because you released video of your recording of the audiobook. You didn't catch these errors when you were recording it?
Oh, Margaret, as soon as it was brought to my attention, I took action to make sure that it was reflected. And listen, this is what is so discouraging about politics and the media today, is that we have the White House that just recently came out and confirmed that President Joe Biden has misspoken, has made mistakes, has even outright lied over close to 150 times just this year.
Oh my God, 150
and
times.
You've done nothing.
Donald Trump knocked that down before breakfast.
Any of that. And you're talking about a book that hasn't been released yet, that's been corrected before it's been released. And you haven't said one thing about Joe Biden saying that he was in prison with Nelson Mandela, that he started the civil rights movement.
What
if
about?
I had an interview with Joe Biden.
Yeah, this is the what about. But I mean, there's really nowhere for her to run. There's really no high ground on this, right? I mean, you invented this. You completely positioned yourself through a ghostwriter. I get that you had a ghostwriter, but you positioned yourself as, this tough-talking, no-nonsense political leader, and then, but you've invented a meeting you had. Yeah, it's Biden's fault. I have GOP bingo. Exactly. It's Biden's fault. And then she goes to what's discouraging about politics is, the media, what, asking you about your total. I mean, this is the craziness, though, without the media, and I think it's worth mentioning and remembering, without some decent journalism, and this is pretty, easy stuff. This person does not get called on the carpet. I mean, if this was a Fox News interview, they never would have touched on this, right? This is an invented fictional tale, and yet she positions herself as a leader who she has terrific national aspirations. Now, those aspirations are melting down, clearly. The second part of it is her on her dog. And let's just roll that, Tony, because this is something that most people are quite familiar with, but I thought it was, once again, in a way, I thought the Kim stuff was the most extraordinary thing. But to hear her double down, which is, the coin of the realm on the GOP side, the double down on the dog, it was pretty wild. Here we go.
I want to ask you again about the book. I know this question is coming because there's been such an enormous backlash about your revelation that you shot and killed a wire hair pointer named Cricket, who was 14 months old. You say in the book she came from another family that struggled with her aggression. You'd been training her to hunt. She got too excited, ruined the hunt, and then attacked and killed some chickens. I wonder if you have regrets about sharing this story.
This is what 10 pounds of fat.
Oh, that's the, yeah. They drop an ad on you. Okay, we'll get to
right there.
Watch the.
Margaret, this book is filled with vulnerable, painful moments in my life, filled with times where I've made very difficult decisions. The reason that the story is in the book, because people need to understand who I am and some of those difficult decisions. This was a dangerous animal that was killing livestock and attacking people. And I had little children at the time. Our operation had many kids running around and people in interaction with the public. And I made a difficult choice. I think you're a mother too, and you have little kiddos. Would you make a choice between your children or a dangerous animal? And I think I would ask everybody in the country to put themselves in that situation, because that's what I faced. And I talk about it because what I'm tired of in this country is politicians who pretend to be something that they're not. That they aren't willing to have the hard conversations and look at the past and the tough decisions that they've made. What I talk about in the book extensively when people are able to get it on Tuesday is to see the whole story and the truth, not the spin that the media has put on this story. The media has put some or removed most of the facts, and what the reason this is in there is because I want people to know that I don't ask anybody else to take on my responsibilities. I understood my responsibility. And as a mom, I made a choice between protecting my children and protecting them from a dangerous animal that was killing livestock and attacking people.
Kiddos.
Well,
and that's the decision that I made.
I described, I think accurately, how you wrote it up in the book. You didn't say the dog attacked people. You said it had tried to bite you. And I just wonder why you concluded that a young dog was untrainable and not just take it to a shelter.
This dog was a working dog, and it had come from a family that had already had issues with this dog. And I had put months and months of training into this dog. This dog had gone to other trainers as well. So all of that is the facts of the story, and all of that shows that when you put someone in a position where they have to make a decision and they want to protect their family and protect children and other people from getting attacked from an animal that has attacked others and killed livestock, that's the choice I made over 20 years ago. And that I didn't ask somebody else to take that responsibility for me, that I had to make that decision myself.
Because you put
Is there
it
any
in
way
a
you
part
could
of a
blame Joe
chapter
Biden for
called
the killing
Bad
of your
Day to
dog,
Be-
Ms. No? Yeah.
Goat.
You get the idea. Although I was quite impressed by Margaret Brennan. I thought she did a really nice job of sort of staying on point, but I was just struck by this thing that they do, and Noem is out in front on it, where you just filibuster, throw in blaming the media, throw in Joe Biden and your talking points about Joe Biden. It's just so weak.
Well,
But,
how ridiculous is it that she's blaming the media for not getting the facts right on her book? She can't even get the facts straight in her own book. She can't even write the story. We got to edit it. We got to make sure that by the time it's released, it's actually true. Lord, and you're blaming the media? Please.
This from Mars, Christie doesn't even deserve the attention like Santos, but y'all talk about her, which is exactly what she wants. Why do drifter imbecile get more media coverage than real good humans? Lazy journalism. Well, I told you at the beginning before we ran the clips, Mars, why I thought she's relevant. I mean, she was very much part of the national conversation and was talked about as a front runner to perhaps be on the top of ticket with Donald Trump. So I don't think it's fair to say that she, is not, that we're just doing it because it's more media coverage and imbecile journalism, whatever, lazy journalism. I also would contend that she doesn't want this. You say it's exactly what she wants. Are you kidding? You think she wants that interview? She's done. She's toast, brother. Okay, she's through. And that interview helped bury her even further below ground than she was before that interview started. So she did say she suggested getting rid of Biden's dog Commander the same way. That's right. That's in the interview. I'm sorry. Thank you for that reminder. Tony, you still have it up? You can play it a little bit more. She gets to that next. She talks about the fact that essentially the White House has this dangerous animal in the confines of the White House. And during the time that they've had the animal there, it attacks Secret Service agents. Commander, shouldn't say it. People in the animal rights world and the animal world don't like it when, he attacked or bit a Secret Service agent. So I'll say attacked. But I wonder if, so speak to that, Tony. She kind of tried to tie Commander to her situation with Cricket. Do you still have it up?
Commander's a completely different situation. Commander's a rescue dog. And so probably put into a situation in the White House where shouldn't have been, because there have been 24 incidents and reports of biting type of things going on with Commander. And you know what the president did? Removed him from the home,
Right.
Put him with friends who could handle him, right? Took him out of a situation where clearly it wasn't working. Didn't take him to a gravel pit and open fire. Totally different.
Yeah. Cheryl says, I heard the interview in real time. It was disgusting and completely evasive. Yeah, I heard it also in real time. It was wild. In fact, after I sent a text to some journalist friends of mine going, wow, she thought she could own this situation, and then the situation owned her. There really, as I say, is no high ground. When you start making up facts about meeting world leaders and this dog situation, I don't see, it's indefensible. I mean, she is playing it off like I did the tough job of, executing these animals. But so I take it, Tony, that you don't have that. Okay. Or Tony dropped
Thanks,
off.
Tony.
All right. I don't know what's happened. But anyway, yeah, she tries to turn it to Biden by talking about Commander in the White House. So Anyway, that's your.
The Mark Thompson Show.
If you had a bad weekend, it probably wasn't as bad as Kristi Noem. She is out of the conversation with Trump, and she's not even, I would say, in much of a national conversation of any kind. Now, I'm hoping Tony's still around because I wanted to play Tim Scott, who also does his version of total evasion, on the question of whether he would accept the election results if Donald Trump doesn't win in this next election. Here's Tim Scott on Meet the Press.
This is an issue that is not an issue, so I'm not going to make it an issue.
Well, Senator, will you commit to accepting the election results of 2024? Bottom line.
At the end of the day, the 47th president of the United States will be President Donald Trump, and I'm excited to get back to low inflation, low unemployment.
Wait,
and high
Senator, yes or
enthusiasm.
no? Yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter who wins?
That is my statement.
But is it just yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024?
I look forward to President Trump being the 47th president. Kristen, you could ask him multiple times. but I
Senator,
think the
just
answer
a yes or
at
no
the end of the day.
answer.
So the American people will make the decision.
But I don't
and the
hear you
decision will be
committing-
for President Trump. That's that clear.
I don't hear you committing to the election results.
Here's the deal.
Will you commit to accepting the election results?
This is why so many Americans believe that NBC is an extension of the Democrat Party. At the end of the day, I've said what I've said, and I know that the American people, their voices will be heard, and I believe that President Trump will be our next president. It's that simple.
But, Senator, as you know, the hallmark of our democracy is that both candidates agree to a peaceful transfer of power. So I'm asking you, as a potential VP nominee, will you accept to commit to the election results in this election cycle, no matter who wins? Just simply yes or no.
I expect President Trump to win the next election. Listen, I'm not going to answer your hypothetical question when, in fact, I believe the American people are speaking today on the results of the election. And if it continues for the next 6 months, we find ourselves in a great position where we get back to another century of American prosperity.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Let me ask you about...
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so you can see. I mean, he's, again, filibuster, the evasion, the evasion class that they all must have taken via Zoom during COVID, that was pretty effective. They all seem to sing from the same hymnal. But that's Tim Scott. And again, the reason Tim Scott's important, first of all, he's an important talking head who is clearly Trump. He's so in the tank for Trump. But he's also being talked about in the vice presidential conversation, although long shot, I would say, but nonetheless, he's being talked about that way. He's being asked to give an honest. Go ahead.
He's asking to give an honest answer and attacks the media because he refuses to be honest.
There
right?
it is from Guitar Dog. Thank you for that.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so true. I love how they didn't let up.
Yeah, no, exactly. I thought both interviewers, and I'm not always impressed with both of them, but I thought both of them, in this case anyway, were dogged, using the word deliberately, in their pursuit of an answer in both cases and in the various topics that they got to. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.